Ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to move to the front of the stage to take pictures of the formation, but please stay off the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please find your seats as the ceremony will begin momentarily. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Commander Clemia Anderson, Director for Officer Development School. On behalf of the Commanding Officer, Officer Training Command Newport, welcome to the graduation ceremony for Officer Development School Class 20010, consisting of 118 officers. Guests are encouraged to take photographs at any time during the ceremony, except during the playing of the National Anthem and the invocation. The order of events for this morning's ceremony is as follows. Momentarily, Captain Mark Nicholson, United States Navy, Commanding Officer, Officer Training Command Newport, and Captain Stephen Moses, Commanding Officer, Naval Chaplaincy School and Center, the guest of honor for today's ceremony, will arrive. Guests will be asked to rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of the National Anthem and the invocation. Both the Commanding Officer and the guest of honor will then address the graduating class. Following their remarks, the Commanding Officer will distribute the class awards. Following the award presentation, the graduates will symbolize the completion of their training by returning their company guidons to their Class Chief Petty Officer. Finally, the graduating class will reaffirm the oath of office. Guests will be asked to rise for the playing of the service songs and the final dismissal. Again, allow me to emphasize, you are encouraged to take photographs at any time during the ceremony, except during the playing of the National Anthem and the invocation.
Class 20010, take.
Please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem and the invocation. Officer Training Command Newport arriving. Naval Chaplaincy School and Center arriving. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, Chaplain Sutphin will now offer the invocation.
Let us pray. Everlasting God, make us aware of your presence and allot to us our daily portion of your favor, that we might celebrate the accomplishment of these graduates, honor the labors of their instructors, gain by the wisdom offered from this podium, and recall the support of friends and family who join in these proceedings in this room and around the world. It is no accident that this group has come to this moment. These accomplished professionals began preparations for service to the warfighter long before they reached these grounds. We rejoice today they are coming together as Alpha and Bravo companies of ODS 20010, formed and prepared for dispersion to the fleet. May they always recall fondly their formative moments on this island in the fall, and may they ever seek to grow in dedication and concern for those they care for and instruct. Bless the instructors and staff. May each be blessed for what they have selflessly given and encouraged by the continued success of these graduates. And we thank you for all those who will offer applause here today and those who join the celebration from afar, and the many more who may not be present, but were instrumental in the course of events this celebration. Watch over those whose sacrifices have made possible this time for growth and training. Be with those who stand the watch even now, that we might have the liberty to gather. These things we pray in your most precious and holy name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Mark Nicholson, Commanding Officer, Officer Training Command, Newport.
Captain Moses, commanding officers, captains, colonels, distinguished guests, family, friends, and shipmates of Officer Development School, Class 20010. Good morning.
Good morning, sir!
I'd like to start off by formally thanking the members of Navy Band Northeast for their patriotic music. They always add a touch of class to our ceremony, so please join me in giving them a round of applause. It's my sincere honor to be with all of you this morning to recognize and celebrate the achievement of these 118 young men and women sitting in front of me, America's very best and brightest, as they graduate and start their careers in the United States Navy. For the families, I want to both thank you not only for making the long trip to be here this morning, but for the performance of your sons and daughters, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters. Your love and support have helped produce the quality individuals seated here. Ones who not only chose vocations to help their fellow man, but who chose a path of service in the United States Navy. For the class, the profession of naval officers, much like the medical and law professions, requires its members to take an oath. In just a few minutes, your parents and loved ones, along with the OTC staff and myself, will bear witness as you raise your right hand and reaffirm a sacred oath to support and defend the Constitution. This oath carries far more obligations than privileges. Carries the obligation to serve in the most trusted institution in America. According to Gallup polls that stretch back for more than a decade, the American people trust the military more than any other institution. A list that includes Supreme Court, Congress, police, public schools, our medical system, and our criminal justice system. It is up to you to maintain this trust. As George Washington once stated in an address to the officers of the Virginia Regiment, remember that it is the actions and not the commission that make the officer, and that there's more expected from him or her than the title. As an officer, you will lead and mentor what is truly one of our most valuable national assets, the enlisted men and women of our Navy. The American people are trusting you to care for and lead them in defending our Constitution. I challenge each and every one of you to maintain and build upon the American people's trust through your actions as a naval officer. I'm very proud of the effort you've expended over the last several weeks, and it's my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you as naval officer into the wardroom of the world's greatest Navy. I have another honor and privilege this morning, that of introducing our guest speaker, Captain Stephen Moses. His extensive bio can be found in your programs, but I'll hit a few highlights. Captain Moses was commissioned as a U.S. Navy chaplain in 1994, after serving 6 years as a Southern Baptist pastor in Fort Worth, Texas. He holds several degrees, including a doctorate from Fuller Theological Seminary. He has served as a chaplain at all levels, including command, battalion, group, deputy force, and fleet levels. He's forward deployed to Sasebo, Japan, and Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Most recently, he served as the force and fleet chaplain for the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command and U.S. 5th Fleet, headquartered in the Kingdom of Bahrain, supporting Operations Enduring Freedom, Inherent Resolve, and Spartan Shield. Currently, he is the commanding officer of the Naval Chaplaincy School and Center, the Chaplain Corps' only commanding officer. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to this morning's guest speaker, Captain Stephen Moses.
Well, thank you for this privilege and honor that I have today. I look out at all these brand new naval officers, and I was thinking about a story I heard about a brand new naval officer that was being put through the paces by his old sea captain. And the old captain said to the young naval officer who had just come on board the ship, he said, "What happens if a storm comes up on the starboard side of the ship?" And the young naval officer said, "Well, I'll throw out an anchor on the port side of the ship." And he said, "Well, what happens if a storm comes up on the port side of the ship?" He said, "Well, I'll throw out an anchor on the starboard side of the ship." He said, "Well, what happens if a storm comes up on the bow of the ship?" He said, "I'll throw out an anchor on the bow." He said, "Where are you getting all these anchors?" He said, "Same place you're getting all those storms." Well, I hope that as you think about your career as a naval officer, I've got to say that I have, just remembering some of the things that your CO said, I've had a great career. I've had a wonderful time, and I hope you'll have the same career I've had. But I want to ask the officers that are here today, what kind of leader will you be? What kind of leader will you be? There's lots of different kinds of leaders. Lots of different people take on this role as a leader in the Naval Officer Corps in a different way. Sometimes leaders are reluctant as leaders. Oftentimes happens as Staff Corps officers that you come in and your professional skill sets become the issue that is most important to you. You want to be a great doctor or a great lawyer or a great nurse or a great chaplain. You want to serve in that professional capacity. And sometimes leaders like that say, well, I'm a little reluctant to be able to step up because I'm not a line officer. But I have to tell you, the Navy commissioned you as an officer to be a leader in the United States Navy. Yes, you have to have that great professional skill set, to be extremely competent in your professional skills, but the Navy has commissioned you as an officer in the United States Navy to be a leader. Now, if you're reluctant as a leader because of your humility, I celebrate your humility. Having humility as a leader is probably one of the best qualities that you could have, because a humble leader will never abuse their people. You'll always be the person that others can look up to and respect. So if you're celebrating humility, and that's the reason why you're a reluctant officer, I salute you in being a reluctant officer. Maybe some of you will say, well, I'm going to be the kind of leader who is a relational leader, focusing on building solid relationships. That's a great way to be a leader. In fact, Teddy Roosevelt said that the ability to work well with other people is one of the greatest capacities that we can have as an individual. Your ability to work well with your subordinates, your peers, as well as your superiors, will always stand you well as a leader if you're a relational leader. In fact, Admiral Richardson, our former CNO, added a third line to the Navy Leader Development Framework, the line of connections, stating that when we as leaders have connections in addition to competence and character, those connections help us to be a better leader, whether they're connections within our community, within our Corps, or within the officer community, or outside our community. Building great relationships is a great way to be a leader. But there may come a day when you as a leader think that the relationship that you have with your subordinates is so good that your subordinate will respect you on every turn that you give them. But there may come a day when a subordinate looks at you and says, you're really a friend and not my leader. And that's when you'll realize that the relational approach may break down at some point. You'll have to be the one that holds others accountable. You'll have to be the one that says, on this day, the importance of our relationship also means that I have to be your leader. So some of you may be a reluctant leader. Some of you may be a relational leader. I hope you'll also be a reliable leader. That seems like kind of a low bar for being a leader, being reliable. But the word reliable means someone that you can rely on, someone you can trust. Admiral Richardson said that trust is the coin of the realm of leadership. Having trust is one of the most important capacities that your superiors will expect from you. Trust and confidence is the means by which we raise people up and give them more accountability, more responsibility, and more authority. If your superiors don't have trust in you, they will never allow you those greater opportunities for leadership. We build trust and confidence through character and competence. And a reliable leader could be somebody who we say, this leader's reliable because they have great competence. They're really great at their job. And I hope you will have great ability at your job, that you will be the most competent in your professional skill sets, both in the profession that brought you in to the Navy as well as the profession of being a naval officer in the United States Navy. Some people think of reliability strictly from the perspective of character, and that's extremely important. If you're a man or woman of character, you're someone that your superiors will always be able to trust. Someone who you always know will tell the truth in every circumstance, will always do what's right, even when no one's looking. When I was in the Prospective Commanding Officers course, a course that all COs go through before they go into command, we discussed this possibility. Suppose you had a leader who had high competence but low character. Or suppose you had a leader who had high character but low competence. Which would you rather serve with? We all agree we want high character and high competence, and that should be the bar we all aim for. But we agreed as we discussed this that if we had to choose, we would rather have an officer or a leader who has high character and low competence. Because someone who had low competence could always surround themselves with very, very competent people who could advise them. But a person who has high character, a high competence, and low character is someone that you could never quite trust when you're not around. Someone who might be a toxic leader. Someone who would lie, cheat, or steal to make themselves look good, or to state that they've completed the mission even if they didn't quite complete the mission appropriately. So if you're going to be reliable, I encourage you to be reliable first in the area of character. That your character be the hallmark of your life as a leader in the United States Navy. General Norman Schwarzkopf said that leadership is a potent blend of strategy and character. But he said, if you're going to be without one of those, let it be without strategy because of the importance of character. I encourage you to be a reliable leader. So some of you might be a reluctant leader or a relational leader, or I hope you will all be reliable leaders. But here's what I want to suggest for you. I want you to be a relentless leader. I want you to relentlessly pursue all three of these lines that we think about in terms of leader development. To relentlessly pursue high character, high competence, as well as connections that make you a great officer. To never give up, to be the officer that says, I will never give up the ship. I will relentlessly pursue best ever performance. As Admiral Richardson said, these kinds of leaders produce teams that have best ever performance, that achieve success at or near their theoretical limits. That you be the relentless officer that says, I will stick to it no matter what. Even when all the chips are down, I will relentlessly lead because I'm a relentless leader. Heard about a coach that was hiring a new scout to scout out new players. And he was talking to the scout about what kind of player he was looking for. And the coach said to the scout, you know that guy that you knock him down and he stays down? Scout said, yeah, coach, that's not the guy we want. Coach said, yeah, that's right. He said, you know the guy, you knock him down and he gets back up, and you knock him down and he gets back up, and you knock him down and he gets back up. And the scout said, yeah, that's the guy we want, right, coach? And the coach said, no, we want that guy that's knocking everybody else down. That's what I want you to be. That relentless officer that never gives up, that treats success in the Navy as a naval officer as the most important investment that you make. I hope someday, 1994, about this time, I was here in Newport as a brand new naval officer, commissioned in 1994, 25 years ago. It's so refreshing to see a brand new group of naval officers entering the naval service. I hope 25 years from now, you'll be looking out at a group like this and thinking about having had a wonderful career in the Navy. And it starts today. It starts with you pursuing your leadership as an officer with a relentless pursuit towards being the very best you can be to support the very greatest Navy in the world and the greatest country that we are privileged to live in today. God bless you, and may you pursue your leadership relentlessly.
Thank you, Captain Moses and Captain Nicholson. At the conclusion of each ODS class, several students were recognized by their fellow classmates, as well as OT and staff, for outstanding achievement during the 5-week course of instruction. Ensign Jackson Welch and Ensign Aaron Dimmers, front and center. The Honor Student Award is presented to the officer who best demonstrates an overall excellence in the areas of academics, physical fitness, and military bearing. Consistently setting the example for their peers throughout the many challenges faced at Officer Training Command Newport, the Honor Student Award goes to Ensign Jackson Welch and Ensign Aaron Dimmers. Lieutenant J.G. Angelo Giannis and Ensign Nathaniel Stone, front and center. The Alfred Award is given to the officer who achieves the highest military grade derived from personnel inspections, room inspections, and general military bearing. This award is named after the Continental sloop of war, the Alfred. Commissioned in 1775, the Alfred served as the flagship of native Rhode Islander Commodore Essex Hopkins. Serving as a role model of Navy pride and professionalism, maintaining the highest military standards, and providing inspiration to all, the Alfred Award goes to Lieutenant J.G. Angelo Giannis and Ensign Nathaniel Stone. Lieutenant J.G. Tessa Stallings and Ensign Warren Caldwell, front and center. The Captain George Townsend Smith Leadership Award is presented to the officer who personifies the highest standards of personal example, good leadership practices, and moral responsibility. For this award, officers were nominated by their peers and selected by the Officer Training Command staff. The Captain George Townsend Smith Leadership Award goes to Lieutenant J.G. Tessa Stallings and Ensign Warren Caldwell. Commander William Roy, Jr. and Ensign Alexander Campo, front and center. The Eady Award, named for Lieutenant Thomas Eady, United States Navy, recognizes the highest achievement in academic and military performance. Lieutenant Thomas Eady, who immigrated from Scotland and settled in Rhode Island, was awarded the Navy Cross and the Medal of Honor for his courageous efforts as a diver during the salvage of submarines SS-4 and SS-51 off the coast of Massachusetts. He was a member of the Southeastern New England chapter of the Retired Officers Association at the time of his death in 1974. In recognition of this accomplishment, in addition to a certificate of achievement, the Military Officers Association of America has generously provided a 3-year premium mode membership to the ED Award winners, Commander William Roy Jr. and Ensign Alexander Campo. For the past 5 weeks, the company guidon has been a symbol of spirit, dedication, teamwork, and unit identity. To symbolize the fact that the officers seated before you have completed their training, they will return their guidon to their Class Chief Petty Officers, Senior Chief Electronic Technician, Aviation Warfare, Surface Warfare, Derek Terry, and Chief Hospital Corpsman, Fleet Marine Force, Surface Warfare, Aviation Warfare, Luis Valdez. At this time, Lieutenant Benjamin Hatef will deliver the reaffirmation of the oath of office. Would all military personnel in uniform please come to the position of attention? Ladies and gentlemen, the Commanding Officer of Officer Training Command Newport would like to present to you your newly reaffirmed naval officers. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the service songs and the final dismissal. Officer Development School Class 20010. Upon graduation from Officer Development School, you are ordered to detach and report to your duty stations, where you will assume your duties and responsibilities by order of Mark Nicholson, Captain, United States Navy, Commanding Officer, Officer Training Command Newport. Class 20010, dismissed. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Commanding Officer, Officer Training Command Newport, we want to thank you for attending today's ceremony. Guests, please remain at your seats. The students are going to take their class picture, and we will allow time for you to take pictures of them as well. Concluded.
Well.